In this problem, we want to solve a compound inequality. So we have 6 is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 3 divided by 2, less than or equal to 1. There's two main strategies that you could take when you're solving a compound inequality like this. What I like to do is I like to separate it into two. There are people who will just manipulate the whole thing at once. For example, so your first step here is going to multiply by 2. I'm just going to show you what other people might go ahead and do, and that's fine, but I'm going to do this whole problem the way that I would prefer to do it, but here's what they would do. They might show it indicate like this, like we're multiplying by 2, so then I'd multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, so they're just manipulating this all at one time, which is completely fine, not a problem. That's a lot for me. I like to just separate it into two, so I'm going to bring this chunk right here, so I'm going to bring this inequality here, over here, and then I'm going to take this part of it and bring this over here. So for the first part, I'm going to have 6 less than and equal to negative 2 or equal to negative 2x plus 3 over 2. And then I'm also taking negative 2x plus 3 over 2 less than or equal to 1. Now I'm just going to solve both of them separately, and then we'll go back and talk about the solution. So let's solve both of these. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 on this one. So 2's cancel. 2 times 6 is 12, less than or equal to negative 2x plus 3. Whenever you're solving an equation where you have like negative 2x plus 3 all divided by 2, you need to get rid of that dividing by 2. You want to do the inverse of division, which is multiplication. So you want to get rid of that divide by 2 first before you do anything, because I know a lot of times in solving equations, like you might have something like this, negative 2x over 3 plus 3 equals something, and you're going to subtract 3 first. But when you have that divide by, you're blocked from subtracting that 3. So that's why we have to do that first. Just a little side note there. And then now we want to just continue solving this. I'm going to subtract 3. 12 minus 3 is 9, less than or equal to negative 2x. We're going to divide by negative 2. Now here's a very important step that I'm going to talk about a little bit. We have 9 divided by negative 2. One thing's going to happen. First of all, we have a negative going over that inequality, so the inequality is going to flip. So I'm going to have negative 9 over 2 greater than and equal to, or equal to, I don't know why I keep saying equal to, greater than or equal to x. But that doesn't really help me understand what I'm actually looking at in terms of the solution. So here's how I'm going to write this. I'm going to write this as x is less than or equal to negative 9 over 2. Now notice what I did. I did not change the value of anything. I just rewrote it. See how the inequality is pointing at the x? Well, when I rewrote it, the inequality is still pointing at the x. A lot of people have trouble with that concept of rewriting it. So it's an inequality of x is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to whatever you're looking at, because it's just easier to translate then. It's easier to put it on a number line and really understand what the solution is. Unless you're someone who could read this, negative 9 over 2 is greater than or equal to x, and understand what that means in our solution. That's great too. But I just like to see it like this, and it's a little bit confusing at first because we flip the inequality because of this divide by negative right here, and then we're flipping it again visually, but not actually at its value when we're rewriting it. So just something to keep track of, and maybe rewatch these couple steps right here, just to really make sure you grasp when we're dividing by a negative, we're flipping, but when I have the x on the right side, we probably want to rewrite it with the x on the left side, just to make it a little bit easier to understand. Okay, so we have that, x is less than or equal to negative 9 over 2. Now we do need to go ahead and solve this inequality over here. So same steps pretty much. We're going to multiply by 2, negative 2x plus 3 less than or equal to 2. And then we're going to subtract 3. Negative 2x less than or equal to 2 minus 3 is negative 1. We're dividing by negative 2. Now notice again, we are dividing by negative. So I'm going to move this up a little bit because I think I'm going over my camera. So we're dividing by negative. So I want to flip and get positive 1/2. Because it was less than or equal to, so it's going to flip to greater than or equal to, and then negative over negative makes that a positive. And we don't have to rewrite it because the x is already on the left side. Let's go ahead and talk about the solution now. So in a scenario like this, where we have this compound inequality, this is a scenario where we're going to be dealing with and. So the intersection of our solutions. So we have x is less than or equal to negative 1/2. X is less than or equal to negative 9/2. So we want all the solutions out this way. We have x is greater than or equal to 1/2. So we want all the solutions out this way. What happened to my line? So they had all the solutions out this way. So again, we're talking about the word and. So that means we want the intersection. Do my solutions intersect anywhere? Is there any overlap? We're talking about x is less than or equal to negative 9/2. So that's going out all the way out to negative infinity, all the negatives. This is going from 1/2 out to positive infinity. And we have no overlap. There's no overlap at all. So in this compound inequality, we have no solution. No solution. There is no overlap. And compound inequalities set up like this is the intersection between both, because we want to plug in an x value that will stay true to both being greater than or equal to 6 and less than or equal to 1. So it has to make both inequalities true, which in this case we don't have any values that's going to happen. So no solution.